Hello, welcome to the first video TDWG podcast. I'm Scott Norman, and this is my co-host.
I'm Matt Hendrix.
And we are joined by a very special guest today, Aaron Bidewell.
Hello.
Yeah.
All the crowd applauds.
Yeah. My wife doesn't, but it's good.
Is she watching though?
Yeah.
I know the kids will. They were applauding when I announced you as our guest today. So first question I have for you is actually just kind of a standard question that we do in these interviews, especially folks who are employed here, because we know you're a teacher, and that is, how did you get into teaching? Like, what started you on the process of becoming a teacher?
I would say it is a family trait.
Okay.
Watching Dad and growing up here, it was just a fun experience growing up here in the school, and sometimes I've made it, probably not as much as I should. During the season, you kind of get preoccupied. You probably know the same way when it's busy time for you, and when it's busy time for you as well. You get preoccupied in what you're doing. But the other day I kind of made my way back down the hall where Coach Red is now, and in that whole area, and I thought, man, this was Mr. Wilson's room. Mm-hmm. And then that was just, you kind of reminisce and just growing up here, and then when you're little, when you're at Dad's practice, you just kind of roam around, So I've kind of caught my son doing that, being up here at practice. So I enjoyed that, and there was a lot of teachers. I can think of one that's just made a big impact. Miss Rather was her name. She was a literature teacher actually, and so she was a great teacher. She had a group in the morning called TGIF. It was called Teens Gathered in Fellowship. She was just a really, and I was a student that just, I'm going to be honest with you, I didn't enjoy literature, but I liked her, as a person. She always treated me real nice, and so I think she gave me a C because she liked me. So that I would say that was probably the lead way into getting into education, is just by being able to grow up here and enjoy, running around the halls. I see a lot of our kids do, around here. So it's just kind of a cool experience.
So you think like you probably wouldn't have gotten into education if it was not for that teacher who you kind of connected with?
Yeah, I would say so.
Okay.
I would say so. And not just her, several others. I mentioned Mr. Wilson. He had a big impact on me because, in his, his son and I are friends, Ryan, in his way, he did a really good job of prepping me for life. There was hard, tough love there, mm-hmm. and I needed that. I was the troubled kid, and I was the kid. I guess sometimes that's why I get along with some of our kids that get in trouble, because I was in the office a lot, So, but a lot of times it was just I feel like now out of pure boredom, at times, and so I would do things just to kind of Jackson Harperish, just kind of we kind of kid around down there, but like that, just to kind of because I was always twitchy and itchy and ready to. But I would say the teachers had the biggest impact, and I can think of several, on me.
Did you always want to do coaching once you decided you want to do education, or was it like you came around to the idea of doing coaching?
I would say yes, always wanted to.
Mm-hmm.
Growing up, we just had a lot of the players over at the house,
mm-hmm.
And that's, Mr. Pickering is a brother of mine. He's my brother. And so, he came to live with us when his junior year. And it was just, we just thought it was so cool,
mm-hmm.
Because, we've had that conversation. He's just asked me, like, man, what was that like? And I just kind of just said, man, honestly, you were such a popular kid. And at that time, I was a junior high kid. So I just thought it was awesome to have you,
mm-hmm.
I would tell people, like, man, this is my brother,
mm-hmm.
and it all, like, you just feel like that was cool. So I would say that part of it was what I love, the bus rides and the,
mm-hmm.
and the being up here, there's a lot of funny stories about my childhood, because I did a lot of things that probably would be a lot worse now.
Mm-hmm.
But just at that time roaming the halls and doing different things around here. I enjoyed the freedom that came with being a coach's kid around the school. Probably not during school hours, but afterwards. So and times are different now. I know that, but I did enjoy that. So that kind of pushed me to want to get into coaching, was relationship building, and then I'll just enjoy competing. And that's probably the biggest enjoyment that I get, is the relationship building and the competing.
So you mentioned it, and in my research, I found this out too. But your dad was a coach, I believe, at the school.
It took a lot of research to figure that out.
So when you decide that you want to be a teacher, when you want to be a coach, did you talk to him about it? Did you ask him?
Yeah, he discouraged it.
Yeah, I was going to say.
He discouraged it. No. He also knew how much I loved it. How much I loved my childhood, how much I enjoyed it, and he told me about the positives and the cons and this. I would say the biggest change, and you guys could probably tell me that you guys feel this about where you're at in your profession as well, was social media. And he didn't deal with that. And so at the end of my first stint of coaching, right before I went into admin, I would say that it was just becoming at its height. And so I was having trouble with that. And that was something I watched Dad for years just deal with an issue. And then once it was dealt with, you made your decision, and that's where you moved on. Now, if you're coaching now, and I guess I'm going to vent a little bit, because I guess this is what we're supposed to do.
Absolutely, yeah.
Now, I would say, and you know what? I wouldn't say that I deal with this, but I watch it happen with other coaches and teachers, and we actually have a great community that doesn't, deal with this as much. But when you're coaching now, I mean, it could be a situation where, a mad parent or a mad fan, they just go live and they'll just broadcast your business right there. and you know what? We're pretty lucky here, because I feel like that doesn't happen as much. I feel like that's a tribute to our community and our parents. But that is a big impact that I struggled with, and then probably a lot of it was my lack of maturity. If not, because it really bothered me that first stint around. But now not so much, because you just learn, like, it doesn't really matter, as long as you feel like you're doing the right thing and you're treating kids right, that matters more than just hearsay.
Yeah. So I'm curious, because I actually am not from around here. Now, I mean, obviously one of the first things I did hear about Portageville, actually number one was Miss Mott, but number two was your dad. Is in your journey into coaching and teaching, you've talked a lot about like the different eras and how you're kind of in this era. I'm curious, when did you start teaching? And then like, what was the process from when you start teaching? Because I've been here 11 years, and this is, to me, your first year here, even though really I'm the outsider and you've been here forever, right? What was that journey like from getting into teaching to going to these different districts and coming back here to your home?
I've been made fun of about my career because it was Lauren always says that she's glad that I don't treat our marriage like I did my career. Otherwise, I'd be in trouble. And I've been all over the map. So
it's kind of a compliment, though.
Yeah, I hope so. But she, she's always been real supportive. I have a wonderful wife. And very lucky. She lowered her standards, but to answer your question, I've been in several different districts. Started at Kennett. It was a wonderful experience. South Penn was a wonderful experience. Hayti, Holcomb, Malden here. And so I would say that the way I always felt is, I never want to, wherever the good Lord's calling me, that's what I want to answer. Mm-hmm. Now, sometimes I felt like when I was younger, I used that excuse just to go where I wanted to. And I felt like I used that as selfish,
mm-hmm.
And so and you can use scripture to benefit your own agendas a lot of times. So I was just but I was young and I was immature. But I will say, every stop that I've been to, I've met wonderful people and formed relationships there, and I've really enjoyed every stop. You know, I can't think of one that I'm just like, that was a terrible experience. You know, and then when Coach Irby called about this, my first answer was like, I don't know nothing about football. Like, I don't know why. But you know, he's somebody that I really respect. You know, I've always thought he had high integrity. Always thought he treated my dad very well. You know, and so I thought about it, and he said, "Man, I really want you to think and pray about it." And so I was like, "Okay." So, and sometimes it's kind of funny how, you know, the Lord just kind of works things out. You know, and so I would say, and I was actually telling the kids before the game, you know, it's not something I expected, but I love working here. I have a blast every day, every single day. I enjoy coming to work. You know, it's just something I don't know. It was the right fit. You know, and I'm hoping that, you know, I get to stay here forever. You know, and so, you know, if it's the Lord's will. So, but I get up every day and enjoy coming to work.
I am curious. So, as somebody who is a follower of Jesus, I hear you reference that a lot, and I hear kids that will reference your references to it. So I'm just curious if you are willing to share, what was your journey to Christ like?
Oh, wow. So I was living in Jonesboro, and you know what? I'm glad you asked that, because for a long time I didn't want to share my testimony because I felt like that I was kind of an embarrassment, you know, because, you know, when you grow up in a house with a father and a mother that, you know, that I feel that have a high expectation of, you know, the way they lived, even though they didn't broadcast that, I always felt like that I needed to make sure that I always felt like there was a standard, but I almost went the opposite route. I almost went like, I'm never going to meet this standard, so I'm fixing to just go crazy.
Yeah.
And you know what? To their credit, they did not treat me bad. You know, they were always believing that I would come back. So when I was living in Jonesboro and living not even close the way I should be, I actually was driving around and life was just not good and had no direction. Won't go into detail, but it was pretty bad for me, rock bottom.
Yeah.
And so I just said, I was driving around one night, and it was actually my brother, who we kind of kid around, was not living right as well. And I thought, man, if he's telling me that I need to get right, I need to probably check myself, because I was like, I know you ain't right. So anyways, I was driving around one night, and I actually in Jonesboro, and I found a small church and was driving. So I was just broken. I just said, man, Lord, and I got out and sat there in the parking lot, and I went back there a couple of times since then. And I just said, Lord, if you just help me. I was like, I don't even know what I'm praying for, but if you just help me, I will give my life to you. And I've really tried to not look back ever since. You know, and I'm pretty open about this because I feel like we have a lot of kids that are looking for that.
Absolutely.
And so when that happened, man, it's just amazing how things just kind of started falling into place. Like, I all of a sudden, within a month, I was on track to graduate, which I didn't even think I was close. I had the confidence to shoot my wife a message, my future wife a message, I should say, about, hey, we kind of kid around about how I said it, but like, I said, hey, would you like to go on a date, basically, and I butchered that the way I asked, but and then all of a sudden, things just started, and that doesn't mean it's not hard. I mean, you guys know it's not. It's a daily walk, and we die daily. But I would say life really started getting better for me, and after that, because I felt less broken, and even though there's bad days, I know that it's better than it was.
Yeah, that's awesome. I know, as somebody who has had some interesting adventures in my lifetime, that there's a lot of times where like God will walk with us through things, and like you said, it doesn't mean necessarily that it's like it doesn't feel good at the time.
Right.
But the thing that you can always hold to is like God promises to work all things together for good.
Yes.
And for His glory, right?
Yes. Yes.
And so there have been times in my life that absolutely sucked, that I can look back on and be like, oh wow, I understand why why I went through that now.
Right.
And I think that it's awesome because I have been able to see how well you have connected with these kids, what feels like super quickly. Like there are kids that, I mean, you're 2 weeks into a season and I have kids saying stuff like that. I'm like, oh wow, this is awesome. Like how quickly, and I didn't really know you yet either, but I'm just admiring from afar. And I think that is stuff that God has been able to work through you. And I don't know all the details, but for sure I know that God has built you to be able to connect with and inspire these kids. So yeah, go ahead.
Well, I would say that I thank you for saying that, and I thank you for what you do. But I will say, I think a big reason of that is because I know how, and I don't know. I'm glad you see it because sometimes I feel like I don't, but I know Aaron Bidewell without the Lord. I know that, and it creeps in, quite a bit. In fact, there's times it happened this past week, and I thought, Aaron, you're getting selfish. You're getting, right now, all you're caring about is wins and losses. And you know what? That's what's kind of neat about coaching and teaching, and I'm sure, and when there was times where you have to the die daily. There was times you've probably, after winning, Teacher of the Year, I feel like the enemy sometimes kind of creeps into us, and if you get questioned about teaching, in the back of your mind, he says, "Well, you're Teacher of the Year. Why? How would you? How y'all going to question me?" And I feel like that's the neat thing about education is, sometimes we need to make sure that we, like personally, that's what happened last week is, after we took a loss, and it was a thumping, and it was like, then all of a sudden questions starts coming in, like, wait a minute, like, how are you going to question? And then the Lord revealed, like, you need to be questioned. You need to be checked. You need to make sure that and he said, and I feel like that I want to help you, but if your heart ain't right, you're fixing to find out how low you can go. And that's kind of, and I don't mean to speak for you, but that happens with me.
100% with me as well. Like, I have said this for a while, but there's a lot of times where I'll talk to my wife, and I'll make the comment that, like, I need to get my pride in check, or I know God's going to hit me upside the head with a shovel. It's like, that's, and there have been times in my life where genuinely I feel like I just got smacked upside the head.
Yes.
And that's, I only coach Scholar Bowl. People don't pay attention. They don't know that exists. But there were absolutely times last year on our run.
On your run, yes.
Where, like, I would just be like, oh man, I must be amazing.
Yes.
And then we'd have,
I actually coached it against you, and you guys dominated us. I don't know if you were.
Wait.
Do you remember that?
So you were coach? You were at Malden?
At the time, I was the sit-in. Do you remember that?
Okay, I remember meeting. This sounds bad. I didn't realize you were the coach. I didn't realize you were sitting in as the coach.
Oh, well, that was me for that. No, for the sit-in time. Yeah, and I actually was super impressed. I thought, man, this is awesome watching you guys. You're just big time. You roll around.
So where's the coach? I need to shake somebody's hand.
I felt bad for our kids because I felt like he was super prepared, and it was very impressive to watch. And I thought, man, this is. Our poor kids have me sitting back here, and I don't even know the rules. And oh my gosh, I was trying to remember who was one of the judges. Anyways, and she knew me, and she goes, "You want a timeout?" And I was like, "I probably need one." And I was like I could see her going. I was like, "Oh, timeout." So I was like,
"Oh gosh."
And I don't think I was. I was useless, but I was impressed.
Now I'm trying to figure out, was this at our tournament year?
No, we were at it's when we were at state beta.
Oh, beta. Okay, that's why my brain is glitching on this. Yeah. Okay, so beta.
Yeah.
That's a whole other animal.
Yeah.
That one's hard to prepare for.
And Bluff really thumped us too that time. So
yeah, well, they're the ones.
They kind of murder everything.
yeah.
They are the one hill that we have yet to summit around here. So they are very, very good.
Yeah.
I don't have the exact quote, but what you all are talking about makes me think of a John Wooden saying, which was like, "Don't believe everything bad that people write about you, but also don't believe everything good that people write about." Like, you gotta filter it out. You can't just take if you take it all in, whether it's praise or whether it's like stuff that you're doing wrong, then that's not good for you. You gotta filter that stuff out.
Yeah. And the good thing is about education, and I'm sure both of you guys have seen this, that God has put us in a place where we have, on average, 20 things that will humble you that walk in the door once an hour.
That is very true.
I just had a whole debate with students today that were really trying to drop the mic on me over a social studies thing, and they said, I kept going back and forth trying to prove my point, and they said, "Is there a teacher that's qualified that could answer the question?" I was
oh man,
it's me. I teach
I don't
the
know.
class.
I have to call the big city.
Yeah, it's what do you mean? I am teaching the class.
they don't have their phone anymore to check.
And so they were. It was one of those moments where it's humbling because even if I am right, they don't care. Who cares? They could care less who I am. Right?
I'll tell you a compliment that I've gotten a lot since I've been in Portageville. That is man, it's a compliment, but it's a very kind of compliment. Is people will come up to me and be like, "Hey, you really got the band. It sounded good this year," and I'm like, "It was me last year. It was me the year before. I'm glad I know what you mean."
Yes, the guy from last year.
Whoa, the band was pretty awful last year, but this year not quite so awful. Still me. I was there. I was
Just wait till I've been here 10 years.
It will really crash into that.
There's a story Dad tells. He had been gone just a couple years, and him and Coach Irby are friends. Coach Irby was coaching at the time, and so he kind of walked up into the gym, and Dad said, "Man, I've only been gone for 2 years." He said, "For the most part, I knew a lot of the kids." He said, "But they were out there playing basketball." He said, "I kind of came through and." He said it was him and Mr. Branscombe and those guys that were just in there talking. He said, I walked in there and he said a kid was shooting and he said, "Hey, who's this guy's name on this floor?" And so they played it off well. He said, "That's Coach Bidewell." He said, "Did he die or something?" He said, "No." He said, "He's right there." And so, it shows you what you say. There's these kids, they forget things, and there's no, you have to just let it flow. Mm-hmm. You have to let it flow because they're still learning and growing, and I really, and I guess the older I get, the more I struggle with this. I was getting really bad at it, I should say, in admin, because you just see a lot of it. It makes me really respect ours guys. Because I think they do a really good job. I think they're hard workers, and I think they're good people. But I will say this: there's not a lot of good that they see from being in that spot for 5 years. You spend a lot. So when you get a chance to laugh, you don't get to do it that much because a lot of times you're just used to being, that guy that has to deal with all that the whole time. So. It makes me, not feel sorry for them because, they can handle it, but it makes me respect them and want to do my job and not mess up because I understand, at the end of the day, I'm not getting that phone call from that parent that's fixing to be cussing at them. And I've gotten those, and I'm just saying I didn't do nothing, but that's the gig,
Yeah. I love our admins here, and I have had experiences in other districts that were very different from being here. And I am curious, before we move on from kind of like the history of Aaron Bidewell here, you did make the move. Usually people move into admin and then they'll kind of stay there and then retire from there. You made the move into admin and then you came back to being one of us lowly teachers.
Yeah.
So I'm curious.
And enjoying every day.
I'm curious, is that part of what is playing into that? You talking about how much you love being here and that kind of is. Do you find more joy in being a teacher than being an administrator?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, 100%. Absolutely. The administrator that I worked with, his name was Robert Eisen. Fantastic mentor. Mm-hmm. I mean, steady, rock solid, 15 plus years. And I told everybody, the guy that was going to take my job, I said, this is, in my opinion, the best assistant principal job in Southeast Missouri that you're fixing to get. And I don't like it at all. And I said, and this is the best one. I said, because he's a fantastic administrator. People respect him. He's fair but tough. Kids like him. You know, he has found the balance of being relational, but don't cross that line, you know. And I worked hard for him. I wanted to do my best for him and our teachers there, you know, because we had great teachers there, as there is in every district. Really enjoyed it, but it was not a lot of good, you know, that you saw, you know, and those guys know that. When you did see good, you know, we have a young man living over here that really turned the corner for us. I would say about 3 years ago when he was living in Malden. He's raising two kids. One's a little boy that goes to elementary for Jordan, and I'm super proud of that. Mm-hmm. You know, I'm super proud to see that part of it. You know, I just needed to hopefully see that more throughout the day. You know, and that's makes me really. But that was the reason for the move, is because, you know, doing it for 5 years. Not that I didn't enjoy it, and I had wonderful secretaries. They're friends of mine, and I wouldn't even say like honestly, like they were more of a boss than I was. I was the guy that did the work that nobody else wanted to do. You know, try to make things easy for Robert. And they were smart. They were smarter than me. The ladies were, and so they would say, "Hey, make sure you do this." I was like, "Oh yeah, that's right." You know, so. But I loved my time there. But it was an opportunity to come here, to compete, come here, be around our kids, you know. And that was always, supervising Portageville games was miserable for me. It was just awful, because there would be conversations, because, you know, people would be like, "Well, who are you really rooting for?" And I'm like, right now, my paycheck, that's who I'm rooting for. But
was it? Now you can admit it.
But now
I can
admit it. Yes. Yeah, I had nieces at the time, you know, with Olivia and Sophie that were playing, and I'd be watching games, and I was secretly going, "That a girl," you know. But you know, I am very, very happy to be here and be all into a district, you know. And then if a kid needs me in the daytime, or in the evening time, I should say, you know what, I can be there if they need something. You know, so. I have a very understanding wife that just not only just says, "Yeah, go ahead," but, you know, sometimes she beats me to the punch and fixes things before I even have a chance to. Mm-hmm. So it's great to be able to be here and help any way we can.
So a couple questions that we always ask when we're interviewing teachers, and then we'll get to our new
random
Jari night.
Yeah.
This is submissions from the entire sophomore class here, because that's who I teach mostly.
I think it's impressive how they just went all the way around it.
Yes. This was now I can say her name because she's graduated. Madison Palmer painted me this, and she was one of my scholar bowlers, one of my first couple of years. And this was her parting gift, was Jari Night, because Starry Night comes up a lot in Scholar Bowl.
Yeah.
So,
I had her in band for so many years, and I didn't get anything like that.
Whoops.
I see how it goes.
So I don't know.
It's
You
coming.
know,
I'm gonna make an angry call to Madison. Is what's going to happen.
well, now she can give you tattoos if you want.
I don't want a tattoo.
That is what she does. So anyway, we will get into that. But first, what is your craziest teaching story?
Oh man.
So, like, we've heard from Mr. Davidson,
Yeah.
a student took his shirt off and chest bumped him, was trying to get him to fight. Like,
Yeah, we've had those.
I've had some crazy stories that I've shared. So, what is your craziest teaching story that per FERPA you are allowed and willing to share?
Allowed and willing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I'm not going to, like, pry one out of you.
Yeah. There's some that will when we.
They can remain
Yeah.
in the abyss. That is fine.
I will say, gosh, I will say I had a moment. I had some at South Pembascott with some fun administrators, and Glenn Carter and Chris Moore, and they were I was kind of like little brother at the time, so they were fun pick on me. So I had a situation involving a parent, and it wasn't that big a deal at the time, but I was a brand new teacher, and I was early 20s
Yeah.
and early to mid 20s, and I thought everything was a big deal.
Yeah.
So anyways, they I have a couple, but they called me in and they said, hey, this situation's bad. It's really bad. And so I was like, well, what do I do? And they said, man, I don't know. You need to probably, go home for the day, and I thought, and we had that kind of relationship,
Uh-huh.
and I was like, well, where do I go from here, and I didn't think to call MSTA reps or anything, I didn't think about none of that. I just thought, and this sounds mean now, but this was, I've been in this now for 18 years, so this was year 15, or 15 years ago. So anyways, they said, man, you probably need to, we'll call you and let you know how things going. So I'm heading back home to Blytheville. I'm driving home, calling Lauren, and I'm like, who at the time we were not married yet. And I said, or we had maybe just got married. And I just said, hey, you know what, this situation's worse than we thought. And so she's like, what? So he's calling me again. He's like, man, we're just messing with you. Why did you run out the door so fast?
How far did he let you get before he called you?
I was about 5 minutes out, which is a little bitty old town called, oh my gosh, it's between Steele and Blytheville. And he was like, dude, you shot out so fast. He's like, we didn't even have a chance to say, hold up, man, we're messing with you. And I was like, oh gosh. That was one. And then the second one, this is really embarrassing.
Oh, God.
I'm coaching. This is actually my first year coaching basketball, my first year teaching. So this was 17 years ago. We're coaching, and I was under a guy named Jim Bidewell, who had a lot of success coaching basketball at Kennett. And we had a really good group that year, good players, and I was the assistant. And we had a kid named Andy Lack. And we're playing, and we're in the championship versus Bernie. And so Andy, they're playing a zone, and Andy gets hot shooting threes. Well, Andy's mouse gets busted in the game. So, and I'm going to be honest, like, I'm not a med kit person.
Yeah.
I'm not somebody that you're like, hey, man, go look at him. Like, that's not a strength of mine. So Andy has to come out the game, obviously.
Yeah.
And he goes, man, get him fixed up. And I panic. I'm like, all right, we got to get him back in the game. He's the only one shooting well. So he goes to the end of the bench, and Andy sits down, and I go through the med kit. And I said, it was a blood be gone. So I grab it. And I spray it on his mouth.
Is that the cleaner?
It's supposed to get off your jersey. And he goes, ah! He starts screaming at me. He's like, Coach! And I was like, dude, it says, he's like, man, Coach. And I'm looking at it, it says 4 jerseys. And I'm like, oh my gosh. So thank goodness we had like a nurse practitioner now. I was like, can you please help us? And so she gets him all fixed up and messed up. So after he was like, dude, you're spraying at him. And of course, I'm like At that time, I'm 22.
Now after the game, we got to send you to poison control.
He's like, you got to quit spraying. Like, what are you doing? I was like, man. And that kid's on like 5 years younger than me. I was like, my bad, man. I'm sorry. I freaked out. We had to get you back in fast. So those are probably the two.
Oh, gosh.
I'll tell you, I haven't ever said my craziest teacher story.
Yeah, that's right.
But let me say this because it involves your dad. It's my first year here at Portageville. It's not my first year teaching, but my first year here at Portageville. It's kind of like what we got fixing to happen. We've got a playoff game that's on Halloween. So I was like, well, let's have like that first group was real bad about like, are they going to show up? Are they not? And I was like, we'll have a Halloween party. Come on in. We'll watch a Halloween movie. I'll have candy for y'all. Come on in. And so they did. Like they were coming in. And I started noticing these kids drinking out of solo cups, which is like number one, a red flag because I didn't bring anything for them to drink. Well, then number two, like they keep like I'm not seeing what's going into these solo cups.
They're just spawning.
And so like, and everybody's starting to act a little weird. Or at least the ones drinking out of the solo cups are acting a little weird. And I'm like, oh my gosh, these kids are drinking. And like, I've told them to come here for this party, and I'm going to be in trouble. So I'm like, I got to find an administrator. So Jeff Bullock is the coach at the time. And he's also my principal. I can't talk to him. He's getting the team ready to play this playoff game. So I was like I think I went to Miss Debbie. I think was Miss Debbie Nave was the one working the gate.
Yeah.
And I was like, who's in charge right now? Who's they're like, oh, Mr. Bidewell. So I was over and I was like, hey, I think I got these kids drinking in class, and I'm like, it's a problem. We need to deal with this. And so he was like, well, I need you to get me some proof. I need you to we need to have some can you get me the cup? Can you get me one of these cups that these kids have been drinking out? I was like, yeah, I can do that. And so I went back, grabbed a cup out of the trash, and it just smells like nail polish, like real, there's some liquor going on in here. And so I bring it to Coach Bidewell, and he kind of smells it, and he's like, I don't know. And I was like, that's it's alcohol. I promise you, that's alcohol. And so he takes his pinky, and he sticks it in there. And he gives a little taste, and he goes, yeah, that's vodka. But it was so funny because I was like, I don't know, it's a bit to be it. So this is alcohol. And so it's just so funny because he just
and this came out of a trash can.
Yeah. It was, but now it was not under stuff. It was at the top of the trash can.
Yeah.
But
gosh.
Then we got those kids for drinking. That was crazy.
Oh my.
That was
He always had a real unorthodox way of doing stuff like that. He would just, and I don't know if it was, growing up in the hippie area or, but he would just kind of, and there'd be times I'd be like, man, he's going to be real mad about this one. And and he wouldn't get super mad because it was just he did some things too, so it's we just deal with it and move on. So.
Oh man. I never got to see your dad here in full force. I only interacted with him as part-time AD. Yeah. So I had conversations with him, but there was a point in time, year 2 here, where somebody said, turn this into Mr. Bidewell. And I said, who? I said, who is that?
He ain't seen that guy.
And they were like, you don't know who Coach Bidewell is? And then I'm kind of should I? And I think it was probably Bullock was like, he probably hasn't seen him that much. They, kind of came to my rescue. But then I got to know him once I was Scholar Bowl coach because I had to talk to him all the time. But yeah, no, every interaction I've had with him for any extended period of time has been back when he would go up in the booth and do time.
Yeah.
And he would tell me all kinds of stuff. It was a great time. It was a party up there in the booth. And he'd be my spotter because he knew who the kids were and stuff. But, yeah, go ahead.
I usually got a call about once a year that was like, hey, Chief, you got your rules review done? And I'd be like, yep. And he'd be like, that's great. Talk to you later. And I was like, hey, he's still working in the district.
He called you from the cabin. He just, he's still, I'm very lucky, because one of my favorite things to do is watch him with my son.
Mm-hmm.
Love it, because I'm gonna tell a story on him. Yeah, I don't know. I don't mean to be storytelling, but Jordan called me a couple years ago. I was at Malden, and we were talking, and he said we were kind of kidding around and messing around. He's like, "Hey, man," he's like, "Dad's picking up Grady pretty early," and so I said, "Huh?" And he said, "Yeah, he's picking him up." And I said, "Well, okay, it's he picks him up 2 days a week." He's like, "No, he's picking him up at like 150." And we got around it, and I said, "Dad," I said, "Man, you picking up Grady?" He's like, "Yeah, we were gonna go to the cabin, or we were gonna. I had some things I had to do around church, so I just went and picked him up and got him." I was like, "Well, Dad's going over till 3." And he's like, "Well, they ain't doing nothing anyways." I was like, "Man, he's got to stay at school the whole time." But he just wanted to hang out with him. He wanted to hang out with his grandson. So that's kind of a neat thing, is to watch, him with him, because I know that relationship, and my son loves being around him, and Jordan's son loves being around him, and my sister's son loves being around him, and watching that relationship, and then let him enjoy those. They go in and break stuff in their house and wreck shop, and nothing happened. And your mind goes, at first you go, "Well, dadgummit, man," but then it turns into, you know what? I'm glad they get to have fun like that. Same with my father-in-law. I get to watch that happen, and my mother-in-law was my 4th grade teacher, so that relationship was always there. So watching them with the kids is wonderful.
That's awesome. Well, what I have learned from this is that we need to have you back on the podcast, because there's so many more stories that we could tell and continue with. But for the sake of time, because we've been going, and we're wasting your precious time.
No.
We've got a lot in here. We're going to try to filter through them quickly.
Okay.
But I told the kids, as long as it was not inappropriate, I would ask you.
Okay.
So we're going to see what we've got. Starting with, okay, it's kind of controversial. Feel free to just say pass.
Yeah, that's good.
What's your opinion on SEMO ball?
Oh my gosh. Well, it started in, I think, 2011, and I think it's grown to be a great resource for parents and grandparents to see their kids and watch their kids get recognition, and I actually think they do a great job. I really do.
Yeah, I love having something that covers the local area.
Yes.
I can almost guarantee the reason that was in the box is because a student who I will not name was very upset that he couldn't do his news article today over the win that they just had because it was not yet posted.
Yep. Yeah.
Next question.
Got another rules, don't you?
Yeah. Next question is, I'm just going to read them verbatim. Is the Rams going to the Super Bowl?
Absolutely. How many years in a row you want?
Rams fan, I take it then.
I am huge Rams fan. Yep.
Even though they left us.
You know what? Lauren always took me to the games for a long time, and then if you would drive that part of St. Louis right now, you would understand why they left. So, we didn't like O'Cronkey for a long time, but we actually went out to SoFi in LA last year. Lauren and I did, and we had a blast. So I stuck with them.
Yeah,
I like them.
I wasn't here really when they were here. I moved here in college, and so I like teasing Rams fans. But they deserted you. Why can you still support them? But I can't talk. I'm a Saints fan. Yeah. What is your favorite football drill?
Probably string out. Probably string out. Yeah, the kids all try to say board drill. It's the one that they all like.
They talk about it a lot.
Yeah, it's a physical drill, but we probably string out. I feel like that it's one that Coach Red introduced to us back in the day. Mm-hmm. I feel it helps out with outside contain. And
so what is string out? Because you guys did a lot of it last night, containing as they kept trying to go outside.
Yes. It's getting off the first block and then keeping your outside arm free and being able to rip through blockers.
Okay.
Something we were struggling with earlier in the year. We were struggling with getting off blocks and keeping outside contain. And so it's actually Coach Red's idea. Him and Coach Freeman did it to us when we were in school. Mm-hmm. Or had us do that drill when we were in school. And I think it's been productive for our group because it's something I feel like we need to get better at.
Yeah, for sure. second half in that game, really in the second quarter somewhere it turned on last night, and I was noticing specifically that they were able to get past that, and there were a couple of those one-armed snags that I was like, hey, that's better than they used to be.
I've got wind that you played also, so I know you probably – did you know some –
So I played DB because as I tease one of the students, I don't usually name drop here, but we can say JB3, all right?
Yeah.
So I tease him about the hand skills, but I was worse by far than any of the drops he's ever had, which is why I played defensive back, because I could break it up, but I couldn't catch it. Yeah. Even the one interception that I had is hilarious because there's 3 photos from our photographer, and the first one is it coming straight into my hands. Mm-hmm. The second one is it leaking out my elbows, and the third one is me collapsing to the ground like this so that I wouldn't drop it. Yeah. But yeah, so I played DB. Yeah. Line above my pay grade, but DB, yeah, I can see some of that stuff. Right. Not great at it. Yeah. Never started, but I had fun.
So were you a physical corner, or were you? You enjoyed coverage more?
So I enjoyed the physicality, which is probably why I need hip surgery here in a minute. But as someone who enjoyed physicality, I was playing on a team where our average wide receiver was about 6'2", probably close to 200.
Oh, wow.
And we had several tight ends that I had to tackle and several running backs I had to tackle that were between 200 and 250. Yeah. And so usually I dramatically tripped them. Yeah. Because I'd be getting trucked, and I'd just be like, grab a shoelace,
hang on.
But I don't know why. I was just a sucker for punishment. I'd be like, all right, let's do it again.
Enjoy it. Yeah.
There was one time where I got absolutely lit up, and my helmet was like, but I got the tackle on the stat sheet because the dude tripped over me. And I remember just hopping back up and getting back in, and the coach, this is in practice, but the coach comes sprinting across. He's like, Scott, are you okay? And I was like, why did that look bad? He was like, that looked real bad. I was like, okay. I mean, do you want me to go out? He's like, no, you're okay. It looked like you were hurt. Yeah. But anyway, so yeah, I was not good at football, but I had fun playing football. Yeah.
All right, so a couple of these are kind of in a similar fashion. These are kind of like either or. This first one is a combination of 2 questions. Okay. LeBron or Kobe, and then there was Kobe or MJ. So I'm just going to say LeBron or Kobe or MJ.
Oh, well,
and I think I know.
I'm old enough to be a Jordan guy.
Yeah.
I mean, that's and being able to see all 3. When The Last Dance came out during COVID, I thought it was wonderful. Mm-hmm. And I thought the thing that was so neat about it was, growing up during this time, we had WGN. I remember having to get up on top of the roof and fool with the satellite, try to make sure everything worked good. And Jordan's yelling at the bottom, "We can see it!" And so then you put the aluminum foil around it to make sure that you get extra signal. Mm-hmm. But we would get WGN, and then we'd watch the Bulls play, and it was just the coolest thing. I'm just, I'm a Space Jam loving nerd too, and so I just thought he was. I thought he was amazing, and Jason and I debate all the time because he's a bird guy.
Oh yeah, so absolutely.
And I said no. I said I've just always been a Jordan guy. I love the Gatorade commercials, love the shoes, love the everything about it.
Todd Gurley or Kieran Williams?
Ooh, good question. Gurley. Yeah, when he came out of Georgia, I thought he got hurt early, and it kind of limited his career. But those first few years, he was unstoppable.
I'm gonna throw out another name with that, which I think eventually the answer will be this, and that is Blake Corum. He's on there right now.
I know.
He has a chance. I love Blake Corum. I would. I'd vote for Blake Corum for president.
Yeah, he had a few early season fumbles, but you know what the thing I like about. He gives his guys chances. He didn't just say he just didn't throw him on the bench after the first early fumbles. And, I think he's averaging over 5 yards a carry. I think now, so I like him too. Yeah, he's definitely the future.
Yeah. Favorite color?
Ooh, good question.
I mean, there's one answer.
Blue.
Yeah. Do you like our chants at the games? I'm assuming this is like the cheerleading chants and the Go Big Blue chant.
Love them. Yeah, they're wonderful.
Do you like Labubu's?
They've gotten better than over the years than what ours were.
Yes.
Ours got a little graphic.
So you mean they've gotten worse?
Somebody banned them at the right times.
Yes. Do you like Labubu's?
Don't know what they are.
Well, that's good. So none of your children are into Labubu's.
No, I knew who Honey Boo Boo was.
Oh gosh.
I don't know about Love Boo Boo.
Do we even try to explain what a Labubu? It's a weird looking doll.
It's a fad.
Okay.
It's a fad that hangs off the back of your backpack.
Uglier than like the Cabbage Patch, like worse.
I think they look like. I'm sure you've read your kids Where the Wild Things Are.
Yeah,
it looks like that
like,
kid with the
okay,
bunny ears.
okay.
It kind of looks like that, and he's got like they've got
Yeah.
sharp teeth. I don't know why they're a big deal, but they are a thing.
I'll send that back to you because I've got a stack of them here. So all of these are various versions of. What do you think of 6, 7?
I like 7 better.
Good answer. Next, do you prefer football or basketball season?
I would say my first love was football. I like watching football more. I feel like that I really enjoy talking basketball with TJ.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's very smart, and I think he does a great job. A couple years ago, I was admin at Malden, and he came over and he beat a Crothersville team that he had no business beating. I was like, man, this guy does a good job.
Mm-hmm.
And so then when I got to talking with him, you know, he is a very intelligent basketball coach, and I like talking to intelligent basketball coaches. I like watching football film more, probably. So, man, that's a good question. Gosh. Tie?
It's a tie. All right. He's going diplomatic. This one just says Smash Mouth, which
JH.
for those of you,
Yeah.
for those of you who don't know, Smash Mouth football.
Yeah.
Another. I don't even know who one of these people is. Aaron Donald or Jared Verse?
Aaron Donald.
Okay. I don't know who Jared Verse is.
Jared Verse is our new guy.
Okay.
Aaron Donald was unblockable
Yeah.
at times.
Now, I told him if it wasn't inappropriate that I would ask. So, will you go bald?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I have before.
Really?
Yeah. If we win,
But you've got
you
so
mean-
much hair.
You mean like
I'll shave
shave
it.
your head?
Yeah, I'll shave it.
Yeah.
Oh, is this a deal you have going?
Yes. If we make it to a state championship, I'll shave it. And
Okay.
Coach that way.
Okay. All right, before we get into some more fun nonsense ones, there's going to be a bunch of these because so many sophomores play football. And choose to answer this as diplomatically as you wish. All of these are some form of, do you think the football team will win districts?
Okay. Oh yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
It was all just different versions of that question.
You know, and it's happened. I feel like that we have felt that way more so as the year goes on. You walk in, sometimes you say things to make sure your kids know that you believe in them, and then all of a sudden you start seeing them believe, and then you start believing a little bit more because they believe. And so yes, we believe that we can.
Well, I can tell you that as the guy calling the games, my belief every week has gone like this. Just keeps going up watching you guys play. So I know like this game coming in, we were looking at the stats of stuff, and I'm talking to kids, and I'm pulling stuff up and looking at things, and I was like, I think, this might be a shootout here. Like, they can pass, I know that we've had problems defending the pass for years. Right. And I was like, we'll just see how this thing goes. And then you guys dominated, absolutely dominated.
We knew we needed to switch up our coverage. We knew it was an issue. And you know what? I will say this, I really appreciate our kids being patient with me. And I felt like that if we had a group that was not, I would have lost them. And I really appreciate them because I wasn't giving our corners any help on 3rd and long. And I was just like, so one thing I've really enjoyed about football too is, there's been a lot of coaches that have been very helpful. So I got on the phone, I was just asking, I was like, man, what are you seeing here when you look at us? And he was like, and then in a nice way, some of them are, very kind, and some of them are talk to me the way I need to be talked to and just say, dude, you're hurting your kids. And I'm like, well, teach me. So we need to do it. We knew we needed to fix that, so we did. Or we tried to, I should say.
Well, yeah. I've been impressed with the growth of this team.
I'll tell you. I think it's impressive to find, because I feel like part of being a music teacher is this as well, is like finding how you can put them together.
Yes.
Like the pieces, finding the different pieces and seeing like, well, this one doesn't really like, but this I feel like that's a big part of coaching is like also in music. And I feel like with Jack Bell, like, wow, he really took off last night.
Yes.
And like he is, yes. With players, I'll say with certain players, they've really taken off, and I feel like putting them in a place to succeed and like seeing what they can succeed. Like, I've really enjoyed
watching him
that.
last night. Was awesome because I feel like that was unlocking something there. Yeah.
And I know with your experience, there's times where, let's just say percussion, there's times where you're probably like, I know that this kid is great on the snare, but right now I need a bass.
Yes.
And that's and I feel like that is where I've had to learn. Like, man, this kid is great at corner, but you know what? Right now I need you at safety. How do you convince that kid who knows he's great at this? I need you to sacrifice your individual for us to do this right now. And I feel like that has been the hard thing for me because sometimes I don't want to tell them the wrong thing.
Yeah.
Where they're like, Coach, like, you really don't even know what you're saying. And so I think that'll be hopefully come in time.
Yeah.
And you probably have that as well. It's
Trying to figure out where to stick kids.
Yes.
Yes. It is crazy for Scholar Bowl specifically because I only teach one subject. So like I see the kids that are really good at one subject.
Yeah.
And so our team is absolutely stacked, specifically in social studies.
Yeah.
And we've been hunting for like filling in the gaps, and now this year we got some freshmen that are coming.
So do you have to rely on other teachers?
Oh yeah, all the time I'm asking other teachers, like especially middle school teachers.
Right.
I'm like, hey, who is coming that I need to know about, that I need to recruit? And there's a couple kids, once again, we don't usually name drop on here, but there's a couple kids, 2 freshmen who absolutely know who they are, who just annihilated a poor team. Our first game of the season, they beat our opponent 370-60.
Yeah.
And those 2 are the future of the Scholar Bowl team, and the current of the Scholar Bowl team is the folks that we had last year that made the run.
Yeah.
But the interesting thing about all of it is like if you play all of them together against each other in practice, their scoring averages plummet.
Yeah.
Because they're all good
Going
at
against
similar things.
Yeah.
And so it's really hard to figure out where do you put them.
Yes.
And then once you get it to put them in a game against someone else, you're like, aha, I knew you were good at that. You're just not quite as fast on the buzzer as this other guy who's also really good at that. So yeah, it's hard. But nowhere near as many moving pieces as you've got. You've got 22 different holes to fill. We have 4.
Yes. And I would say that's where what we're kind of lucky with is all 3 of us guys that are new to it, having a guy like Red that's been here forever. It's just almost a calming. Because I was asking him, I was like, hey, what do we do here? Like, I will say this. Every one of our practices now, we were struggling. We really were about 3 weeks ago. And I didn't want to tell our kids, buy in, do what you should do for the team. Don't be selfish. And then all of a sudden, I'm making up practice plans, and they're not right. And I knew that. So I was just like, hey, man, Coach, like, I need help. Like, I really don't know what to do this time of year. Can you please? And I'm going to be honest, he's made up our practice plans for the rest of the year. And we sat down, him and I sat down, and I was just like, I need you to please give me advice. Like, tell me what we need to do this day. Tell me what we need to do.
And this is Coach Red?
Yes. And everything that we do out there we sat in an office one day and he said, this is what we need to do here, this is what we need to do there, and that's what we're doing. And so I'm grateful for him because I wouldn't have had that. We wouldn't have had an organized. I'm not saying it's the magic wand and all of a sudden, but I'm saying everything we're doing right now is because he said let's do that, and I think it's been a good thing for us because we're at least organized. And the kids, I feel like that are believing because we're saying that. Because of, I just told him, I was like, guys, I'm gonna tell y'all, like, he's seen the good and the bad. He's experienced great teams. We're gonna do what he says, and that's what we're doing.
I feel like that answers this question. So just if this was your question, he just answered it. It says it actually says to Couch Bidewell, but it means to Coach Bidewell. It says, how is training the football, boy? He just answered how the training is going.
Oh, gosh.
Got some interesting cats rating questions here. You've got a whole leg of questions.
Yeah.
Take it away.
Well, these are all pretty straightforward. I feel like you've already answered this, but are you married?
Yes.
Yes. Who
doesn't?
And the reason I asked this is the other day on our podcast we played a game called "Am I Related to Paul Davidson?"
Yeah.
That's a lot.
You were the last one I brought up, and I said no, you were not, and that's wrong because through marriage you are related.
I am through marriage.
Yeah. So
listeners who heard that,
I don't.
we haven't released that one yet.
Well,
It's
you're
going to come
about
out
to find
after
out.
this one, but you'll
But
find out.
in the interest of full, that was a mistake, and I didn't realize it until.
And if you've never seen him dance at a Kill and Frame reunion, his worm is impressive.
So,
it's awesome.
Some podcast lore for you.
Yeah.
Davidson and I are the founders of the podcast originally. And one of the first things that really caused the podcast to blow up among the student body was the fact that he and I had a dance-off at a pep rally.
That's awesome.
And we kind of talked before the dance-off, and we were like, okay, so like how long should we make this thing go on? Because they're going to cheer for whatever we do, because we're just going to do dumb stuff. And he was like, can you top the worm? And I was like, no. And he was like, we'll end on that. And I was like, all right. So we just did dumb dances back and forth. And then finally he breaks out the worm, and I just go. And that was the end.
It's
and
awesome.
Somewhere that's on YouTube. So go find it, folks. I feel like you kind of mentioned this. Who was your favorite teacher?
Miss Rather.
Okay.
Yeah. She was, she was wonderful.
Okay.
Yeah, big impact. And then I'd say elementary, my mother-in-law, Linda Kellums, she always kind of kidded around with me. She was just like, you weren't a problem, Aaron. She said, you just had your stuff everywhere. And I was like, okay. Miss Mother made a big impact. She's, I'm sure you've heard this 1,000 times over the years, but man, she was unbelievable doing that job at a different level, and trying to keep teachers happy is a very difficult thing. Somehow she mastered that. I always felt like there was great teachers over there. They all loved her. Everybody, and I'm sure you've heard this story, but everybody, when you ask my mother-in-law and teachers during that time frame that are retired now, Jordan's got some big shoes to fill because everybody's wanted to talk about how great she was, and she was, and she made every kid feel special, I thought.
So this is about body conditioning.
Okay.
And I would say I've kind of heard rumbles of this. Do you like Pitbull or perhaps Spanish music? I hear it a lot in body conditioning.
I know the kid who wrote that,
I like, I'm a burnt CD, so I like a wide variety. Like kids like rap, so I try to find clean rap, and then I try to find something that's gonna be, So we played Christmas music the other day. We played Disney music the other day. We played, praise and worship music the other day. We just try to throw a lot on there because I get bored. I told you guys that earlier. That I just get bored with the same stuff over and over and over. So
Well, I apologize for the football warm-up soundtracks.
No, it's great. No, it's great. But I get bored with the same routine over and over and over, and so like, TJ had a great idea today, and he's got a pretty similar personality. He just said, man, why don't we just, instead of doing speed day, why don't we play pickleball and just let them have some fun? I was like, great idea. And so
they did seem to be having fun when I was there.
It was, it was perfect timing, and so, I get called, sometimes I probably am not as consistent as I should be, but I need some change sometime, so that's.
Kids talk to me about music, and they'll, I've gotten, like, from the same students, they'll be like, man, I really like that music in body conditioning, to like, man, that was really bad music that we listened to in body conditioning.
So you're going to hear both probably there.
I'm not going to say the names that they have attached to this. Are you aware of who of your football players are the problem and the solution?
Yes.
Okay, yeah. Sometimes they're both the problem. They just said, what do you think about the problem and the solution?
I think they're a problem and a solution.
Yeah.
No, they're awesome. What they've done is, that goes back to, coaching. If you don't have some kind of fun, you'll lose them. You got to have some fun. And that's kind of, they've got to enjoy being around you. They got to enjoy it. So what they do is they provide comedy at the perfect time. And sometimes I'm like, guys, be quiet. Like, just give it a break. I don't want to hear this on Google Classroom right now. I'm trying to get an announcement out there. And I was like, it better not get inappropriate, because Coach Herbie's on here. If I'll get in trouble for y'all. But they find the balance. They find the balance to
find the balance in my class, guys.
Yeah, find the balance.
Find the balance in my class.
But
yeah.
I've got two quick ones, and then probably one that we can end on.
Okay.
To your question. This first one's got to be a joke question. Sean McVay or Jeff Fisher?
Sean McVay.
Yeah, my joke I always heard about Jeff Fisher was he's got 8 and 8 tattooed on his bicep.
That's right. Yeah. On his mustache. Both sides.
Cooper Kupp or Puka?
Cooper Kupp.
All right.
MVP.
You can make this as long or short as you want. Do you want a 4-day week?
Absolutely. I mean, from somebody that experienced it, I will be open with anybody that wants to talk to me about it. I was against it. Mm-hmm. I was pretty adamant, like, hey, this is how it's been. This is how. Then I watched the morale of your staff, which is huge, especially in Education Day. Now, I'm not saying that there's not negatives. Mm-hmm. I'm not saying that there's not negatives. There's, if anybody does that, it makes me turn off listening to what they have to say.
Yeah.
Because I'm thinking, all right, man, you're trying to be selfish with what you're trying to do right now. But I think that at Malden, I should say, mm-hmm. It was great for us.
Yeah. At
Malden, would it be great here? I do think so, mm-hmm. But I'm not saying it is going to be.
Yeah.
But at Malden, there was a lot of positives that we saw that I didn't think that we were going to see from test scores, mm-hmm. from kids' attendance at school, from people just enjoying being there. Now, was that just because it was a new thing?
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know. But I do think that we were struggling to keep good teachers, mm-hmm. and good teachers were telling us at the time, and then part of my job was to recruit teachers.
Yeah.
And I'm telling that math teacher, hey, stay with me. And that math teacher is going, I can go right down the road, mm-hmm. and I can go in a classroom of 10 kids, and this is the good math teacher now. I could go with that they're all going to listen, and they're going to be well behaved, mm-hmm. And I had to say, well, let me give you Mondays off. and I kept some, from that. And that was the bargaining chip that we kept some good teachers at that time, and we didn't lose them.
Well, I know that Jeff Bullock uses a recruiting tool because the moment that happened, well, he called me basically every year he was over there.
Yeah.
Hey, you want to come over here?
Yeah.
Hey, you want to come over here? Hey,
Yeah.
you wanna come? And then
I was there.
The last
Yeah.
the last time he calls me, he goes, "Hey, we're going to 4-day weeks. You want to come now?"
Yeah.
And I was like, "I'm sorry, still no."
You enjoyed it.
I love it here. And also, I had no idea how long he was going to be there because
Right.
he kept talking about retiring
Right,
before he
right,
left
right,
here, and I'm like, I'm going to get over there.
Yeah, and you're gone.
Go leave in a
Yeah,
place
yeah.
that I absolutely love to be, and then he leaves the next year. But
No.
no, I knew that like it was something that you guys were using to get teachers.
It was. We were actively, calling different and teachers that I'd been in districts with and saying, this is a good teacher. He was the same way with you, and then we were all making phone calls and saying, hey, come here because we offer this, and somebody that wants to schedule their doctor's appointments and everything, and districts save money we save money just by substitutes, so I mean, it was a positive for us. It really was.
Well, sometime we may have to do a podcast and bring you back on, and at some point, because this is a growing thing, we'll just have to do a straight up podcast that's on the 4-day week and just discussing pros and cons. Because I'm somebody who traditionally has been, no, we don't need to go 4 days. So I'd be curious to hear the full length of that, but we will probably go ahead and close out with this question.
Yes, so this is not a deep or difficult question, but it is kind of fun. If you could take any athlete over the course of time, professional athlete, and put them on your football team right tomorrow, who would you pick?
That's a fun one.
Mm-hmm.
In Class 1 football, if you could find speed,
So
in
Derek
Class
Henry.
1 football, speed and size, I guess, I would say Barry Sanders.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I would say Barry Sanders because, we would have the fastest player, So maybe if you start getting Jackson size, you need to start thinking, all right, I would like Brady, or I would like whoever the best tackle is in the NFL at that time. But I would say in Class 1 football in Southeast Missouri, speed would be, it gives you a chance to make a run, So I would say Barry Sanders probably.
Yeah. Well, he's probably playing safety and tackling everybody.
Yeah.
Nobody's getting a long play.
He's going to do it all.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully we'll have you back. But before I let you go, just you have the floor here. Is there anything you'd like to say to the listeners, which is 95% students at the high school, but 5%
Who
other
accidentally
people.
wandered onto this?
Yeah,
Yes,
who
yes.
actually is like, hello.
Yeah. Oh, man. Do I go funny? Do I go serious?
Well, hopefully we'll have you back. You can do all.
All right, you
Just
do it
pick
all.
an ending and we'll do another one.
All right, I would say that I'm very glad to be here. I'm very happy to be a part. And one thing that was always certain being here, and I feel like it's still here, and it was the envy of an outsider for 16 years of mine, is there's people here that care and will do, anything they can to help you. And then coming back and watching, it's not changed. I don't know if you guys, you kind of mentioned Pop, so I don't know if it was Pop for you, but or who it was for you, but maybe it was just your own characters, But this place is a place where if a student wants to succeed, there's teachers that are going to help them, and will give up their time, So, and that hasn't changed. It seems like just from viewing things, you guys are that way. And it seems that, like I was thinking about you the other night and watching you at the game. Well, on Friday nights, you probably love to just go home. I mean, because unless Portageville is different than Malden, you probably don't get a huge stipend for doing that up there. So it's probably not a game changer as far as things, but it's probably because you want to be around the kids. And it's same for you. I mean, so this place isn't changed. That's one thing that's great here is, it seems like the staff just wants to be at things and wants to be around kids and do what's best for kids. So I'm just glad to be a part of that.
Well, we're glad to have you here, and we're glad to have you on the podcast. So thank you so much for coming on the podcast as the inaugural guest of this new season of the podcast. Yeah. And with that, we're going to go ahead and sign off. I have, and Lord willing will be, Scott Norman.
I'm Matt Hendrix.
And our guest is Aaron Bidewell. And we will see you next time.